Hello, welcome to the first episode of the Cooltific Podcast. I'm your host, Gabriel. This is the first podcast I've ever done ever. Um, it's going to be each episode in this first season is going to be 25 minutes long, and I'm going to initially upload to YouTube. I'll probably expand to Spotify and other platforms later when I have the cash. Um, but currently, I'm just gonna keep it to YouTube for now. Um, the topic wise, the podcast is going to mainly center around kind of just anything in that my mind that kind of occurs in my mind, if that makes any sense. It's not necessarily going to be rambling like later on, but probably in the beginning it's going to be a little disorganized like that. Um, so this I'm probably gonna. I think I've mentioned this, but I'm likely going to upload twice a week minimum. I might do more than twice a week, but I don't know. I gotta get my scheduling all figured out. I gotta really get a lot of things figured out. Um, but for now, everything's just kind of up in the air at the moment because I'm. This is the very beginning of the podcast, um, so this first episode is entitled "Beginnings," and the topic is really just going to be related to beginning a podcast. I guess for me, like I've never done anything like this before, really. I've uploaded to YouTube before. I used to, I've done some video game walkthroughs on YouTube, just some random nonsense on YouTube, etc. But I haven't done anything organized like this in a long time. So we'll see where this goes. I apologize for the mic quality. I will get a better mic later on, but I'm using the Office headset, so um, it's the best I have right now. So yeah, there you go. Um, so uh, I think I say each episode's going to be 25 minutes long in the first season. So there's going to be seasons, obviously. Um, so yeah. I think the one point of interest for the first episode, being as disorganized as it is that um, I we can discuss maybe a few of my interests and kind of a few of my goals for the podcast, um, and kind of go from there. So to kind of begin with, I guess some of my interests, and see if you're interested in these things as well, is I like some topics that are related to academic study. I like geography. Geography is one of my, at least it used to be one of my favorite subjects to study online. Um, I also like music and video games and generally amusing myself with food and entertainment on the computer. So it's pretty exciting. um, I would say that, uh, you know, uh, I've enjoyed uh, in particular video games for a very long time. I mean, I'm a Gen Z slash millennial, so of course I was raised on video games, like kind of the sixth generation of video games with GameCube and Xbox, PlayStation 2. Um, Played a lot of Nintendo when out growing up. Um, just kind of generally did a lot of uh, played a lot of platformers, some first person shooters, etc. Um, I definitely, I would say that I definitely, just got exposed to it from a young age, and so it's a little bit ingrained into my psychology to turn to, I guess, turn to video games when I need entertainment or even comfort. Um, it's just kind of a source of, you know, uh, just fills the void a little bit. Um, but I would say that, video games are pretty fun. Uh, usually, I mean, sometimes they can evoke a little bit of ennui when you're just playing a video game and there's really nothing going on, but that's not really fun. But uh, regardless of that, it's usually a fun thing to engage in. Um, so, uh, another thing that I would say is, generally interesting to me is, I don't know. I mean, I guess I would say, like I mentioned geography, but another thing I would say is music, as I mentioned before as well. Um, I like various genres of music. Uh, I kind of went through a phase with heavy metal for, about for over 2.5 months ago. That was a really kind of a strange situation because like I got into heavy metal because of I well, I mean, I had some initial interest in it before because I like Black Sabbath and Tool. Um, I I I think I liked One by Metallica. I didn't really enjoy much else by Metallica at that moment. I like Led Zeppelin, which is debatably metal. There's some aspects to Led Zeppelin's music that's metal. Um, but I would say that I got into metal because I was listening. I listened to the first song on Ride the Lightning by Metallica, Fight Fire with Fire, and it just clicked something in my mind. It led to me realizing that I kind of like this. I like the aggression and the speed of that Metallica was, kind of creating with that album, and really the first few albums by them like has this. It just has, I mean, it's called thrash metal for a reason. It's got this. Kind of thrashes the energy in your body. It just makes you um, kind of want to whip your fucking body around and kind of go crazy. So uh, that's something that I definitely that's kind of what initially got me into metal. Um, and then I kind of went down this rabbit hole with it where I got into Megadeth because I I heard that the one of the band members, Dave Mustaine, was he was part of he was involved in like the first album by Metallica, Kill 'Em All, and then he got kicked out for I guess doing too many drugs or something, just causing trouble or whatever. And he formed Megadeth, and so I listened to Megadeth. I also listened to some Iron Maiden. I kind of went from like more of the surface of heavy metal, like kind of beginning with traditional heavy metal, then the new wave of British heavy metal with Iron Maiden, and then I got into I can't well, initially I got into thrash, really before the new wave of British heavy metal, and I mean I listened to some traditional heavy metal like Black Sabbath, but I got into Metallica really. Metallica's really kind of dragged me into that portal, if that makes sense. Um, then I got into Slayer, and then Slayer eventually led to, I believe that's when I got into black metal, was through Slayer, but I'm not 100% sure. Maybe I got into black metal before I really got into Slayer, but um, black metal is a strange world, man. Like, it's a little, generally it's a little too negative energy. The energy that black metal kind of evokes is a little too negative for me nowadays. But when I initially listened to it, I thought, it kind of had this there was kind of a catharsis to the darkness of black metal that kind of pulled me into listening to it more. Um, so I got into Mayhem and Darkthrone and Bathory, and listened to a little bit of Venom, uh, Celtic Frost, stuff like that. Um, so kind of got pulled into that direction, and I kind of sat there for a while for the past like 3 months, and then I had to get out of that situation because it was just kind of dragging me down. Not really the best energy to be absorbing all the time. I also got into Death, which is a death metal band. Death kind of straddles the line between death metal and black metal a little bit. Um, at least Death is a little bit more like black metal than say Obituary or Entombed, and those are the other two death metal bands I somewhat listen to. Um, but yeah, so uh, that's just some of my experience with metal recently. I also like indie music. I love indie music. Like Death Cab for Cutie, early Coldplay, The Smiths, The Cure, stuff like that. I enjoy indie music primarily through my mother because she was alive when I was a little kid. I really enjoyed listening to Death Cab for Cutie with her and the Postal Service, which also has Ben Gibbard in there. Um, and also like she likes Snow Patrol and Band of Horses and stuff like that. And that really that kind of got me into listening to indie at a young age. And I don't know, for me, like things that had influenced me from like I don't know, maybe 2, 3 years old to maybe 8, 9, maybe up to 10, 11 years old. It just kind of sticks with me, just it just has a deep influence on my psychology. Um, but yeah, I would say that like it's definitely interesting how, you know, indie music, like it's like it generally refers to music that's published with an independent label, I believe, or just something that's not generally mainstream. But I don't know. But a lot of indie music kind of has common threads, and I guess that it's kind of rooted in early alternative music. Um, stuff like even going as far back as say, what are they called? The Velvet Underground, and even like stuff with um, uh, what's another like 60s alternative band? I don't know. Jefferson Airplane. I don't know if they're alternative, but maybe they contribute to that as well. Kind of like the psychedelic movement more so, um, but yeah, I like indie music. I also like rap. Rap is one of my favorite. It's one it kind of waxes and wanes with me with rap because like I like a lot of the stuff from the 90s like Biggie and Tupac and Big L and Nas. Um, I like some Kendrick Lamar, which is newer. I like Death Grips, unfortunately. I'm kidding. Um, Death Grips is more of kind of like experimental hip hop, even though I don't know if they're exactly hip hop, but they got hip hop elements for sure. Um, but I got into hip hop when I was 14, and I liked the vibe of like both sides of both coasts. The energy that both of them emitted were like those emotions were enjoyable to me. I don't know, like kind of made me I don't know, like when I listened to say Tupac, he would express things in his lyrics would express pain and suffering and trying to survive in precarious situations like in the ghetto and with having dysfunctions with his family and dealing with violence and death, and that like that kind of comforted me and left a mark. Not necessarily because I was in a very similar situation to Tupac Shakur, but I definitely, it was comforting to me. Kind of gave me a bit of a self-esteem boost at that age. Um, and of course, I like listening to like other rappers like Biggie Smalls and Tupac. So I already mentioned Tupac, but Big L and stuff like that. Um, uh, Biggie's kind of just fun because his flow is really good, and he's just kind of more generally enjoyable, like not more enjoyable than Tupac per se, but more like he's kind of like in a more when you're in a more lighter mood, you kind of I like to listen to Biggie Smalls, and just kind of comforts me, in a different way, I guess. I also I like some punk. I guess like I enjoy a lot of the punk elements that show up that kind of evolved out of alternative and indie. I I was gonna mention Fugazi, but I haven't really listened to much of Fugazi. Um, of course, like there's Black Flag. Uh, I mean, I don't know much about Black Flag. I know Rollins was in it. Um, I like Rise Above. That's a good song. Um, Goth is really good, and I kind of mentioned Goth with The Cure. There's also Bauhaus, Susie and the Banshees, if that's how you pronounce it. Um, and Susie, I believe it might be Susie and the Banshees, but um, of course, there's also a really good goth band called She Passed Away. They're Turkish. They're from Turkey, and they have a they have a really good album, and it's in Turkish, but according to Google Translate, it translates to night appeared. I'll try to pronounce it. It's like Belirdi Gece or something like that. It's a That's a really good album. It's kind of like a kind of takes a lot of like it takes some trends from like 80s goth and kind of gives it its own twist, and it's like a nice little, it's like a nice refined goth album. If you want to consider it goth, I don't know if they there's kind of a trend among goth bands to not call themselves goth, um, but that's just that's just another band that I like that's kind of related to the goth subculture. Um, I enjoy a lot of techno. I mean, not techno per se, but like electronic music in general. There's a lot of good electronic music out there. Um, one artist I'd mention that might be a little obscure. The name is Ross from Friends, and Ross from Friends he's made a lot of like fairly recently, like kind of going back to I believe earliest 2015, probably before that obviously, but I think his first album, Alex Brown, if that is his first EP or something, it came out in 2015, and he composed an LP called A Family Portrait. I believe that came out in 2017 or 2018, and that's a really good lo-fi house album. Uh, that's kind of generally what he does, lo-fi house, kind of experimental electronic music, stuff like that. It's really good. I I give it a listen. Um, but yeah, there's also like IDM, which means intelligent dance music. A little bit of maybe a slightly patronizing name for the genre, but essentially like that. That was kind of like one of the main pioneers of that was Aphex Twin. You also have I think Outekker. I don't know how you say it. I believe it might be a French name or something. And Orbital, and others among themselves. Um, Aphex Twins made a lot of good music. Uh, like he came out. He like Selected Ambient Works came out, and I in believe 1991 or 1992. I'm not sure, and that has a lot of good tracks that I enjoy. Um, another another topic we could probably move on to is and I don't know much about philosophy. um, I really don't know that much about philosophy. I also went through a phase with philosophy. I wanted to study, like the ancient Greeks with Aristotle, Plato, Socrates, and some of the pre-Socratic philosophers. Like I think Pythagoras is one of them. Um, I'm not sure. You also got, there's also like like Thomas Aquinas. I think he was a more of a Middle Ages philosopher, and what's his name? Rene Descartes, and there's also Hegel. I think Hegel's a philosopher. Um, just all these different figures. Nietzsche. Um, the thing is that I got into studying philosophy, uh, like maybe like 8 months ago, and I wanted to study all these people and read their books and take notes, but like kind of got to the point where I don't know how to explain it, but like I just it's not that I couldn't focus, it's just like I could generally absorb some of the information, but there's a lot of first of all, I didn't really know where to get started with like studying philosophy. I didn't know whether or not I should just read like Wikipedia. I mean, I did some of that, or like read a book that's centered around Plato or Aristotle, or like um, read a general introduction to philosophy, or maybe start with the newer philosophers. I mean, I didn't really know like where to begin, and I didn't really know where to begin like with you know applying philosophical thought per se. Um, it was just kind of it was just kind of a mixed situation for me. I didn't really know like where to begin. And so maybe I had considered maybe attending like a class at a university or something in order to kind of gain a general sense of where I should begin with studying philosophy. And obviously, like, what's kind of tied into that is like asking philosophical questions, like the purpose behind X, or maybe life in general, or, you know, ontological questions maybe concerning divinity, like with God and religion, um, or, if, ethics, how, what should be, you know, classified on the spectrum of right and wrong, or if right and wrong even exists, stuff like that. Like a lot of interesting things that you can go fairly deep into that I didn't really know how to organize in my head, and even like around me, I just didn't know how to do it. So uh, I guess it was just kind of confusing for me. So I don't know. Um, so I don't know. Maybe someday I'll get back into studying philosophy more deeply, but I'm kind of taking a break from that uh, for a while. um, Maybe I just don't have the discipline. I don't know. Um, Anyways, so we are in the last few minutes of our podcast. I'm shooting for 25 minutes per for the season. I'm not sure how many episodes should be in each season. I feel like maybe seven's appropriate, but I'll figure it out. So, uh, well, we have a few more minutes, so we gotta blabber a little bit more. So, I there's this one game that I've been playing called City Heroes, and I've been playing it since I was like 5 years old. But I've been playing it a lot lately because I haven't had much to do. um, I haven't really, I just haven't really know, bleh. I haven't really known what to do with my time, and so I don't know. It's just been a blast, Like I decided to start a podcast today. Actually, the reason why I decided to start a podcast was because I had a dream about it last night, and I thought, maybe this is a good idea. I don't know. Like usually when I have a dream about something that kind of involves, you know, taking a hold of an opportunity, like I usually kind of just bury it in my subconscious. I kind of just ignore it. But this time I wanted to take a snag at it and see, where it takes me. So, all right. And then kind of as a final 2 minute note, I just want to talk about oh, I did mention this. My goals for the podcast. So, the goals for the podcast generally is that I want to use this as an opportunity to develop myself and kind of maybe let off some steam and discuss things that are interesting to me. Um, I don't know if I'm necessarily going to build like like accrue a large audience out of this. Maybe uh, if I divide, if I, what's the word? If I allocate my resources properly, maybe I can grow an audience. But at the moment, I mean, who knows where that's going to go. I also want to, uh, I want this podcast to kind of turn into something that just kind of, provides me an outlet to have discipline and generally, just, you know, produce something. Just utilize my creativity, over time to kind of develop these set of skills, and also leave a record behind of things that I've done, or and that you may find valuable. I don't know. Um, so this has been the Cooltific Podcast, beginnings, and okay, 1 second. We got a few more seconds. Um, I hope you all enjoyed the first episode. I mean, I know I stumbled a lot. I know I really didn't focus on anything in particular for too long, but you know, things things gotta have a start. So All right, we'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.